All those guys are members of Leonard Skinner.
Okay. I was like, I know these names, but I don't.
Gary Rossington was their slide player. Artemis Powell was the drummer. Billy Powell, the piano player.
That's okay. All right.
I thought about using the members of Dire Straits.
Pickwithers et al.
Welcome, comrades, to the Art of Cinema. I am Colonel T, Minister of Propaganda of the People's Republic of F, and joining me in the studio is our glorious leader, General Secretary F.
Thank you, Colonel T. The hearts of workers and soldiers throughout the People's Republic of F are warmed by the fire of revolution ablaze within my heart, the heart of your glorious leader, General Secretary F.
And you'll see to it that we never fail to say so, sir. Today on The Art of Cinema, we begin our review of the top 10 films of the 2000s, the aughts, the aughties, the decade from 2000 to 2009.
I'll allow it, Colonel. It's a new beginning for the art of cinema.
It is, sir.
It reminds me of my recent speech at the party rally on organizing a mass revolutionary faction of atrocitarian obstruction to modern capitalist imperialism.
At number 10 on our list is Joshua. Joshua is a psychological horror story about an evil child, sir, a boyhood sociopath played by Jacob Kogan. Jacob Kogan looks like a child version of Jason Sudeikis. Jacob Kogan is the firstborn son of Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga. He's off the charts intelligent, and he's a musical prodigy. He can play the classical repertoire on the piano, and he can improvise and compose his own pieces. He's been studying music with Vera Farmiga's brother, Dallas Roberts, with whom he has a close bond. Dallas Roberts is the only person who understands and can admire the modernist music that Jacob Kogan plays and improvises. The film has a very good modernist score by Nico Muhly, a prominent contemporary composer.
And I like the sound of Jacob Kogan's modernist piano pieces, Colonel. Indeed, modernist art was born of the same 20th century cataclysms that gave rise to the politics of atrocity that I inflict upon the People's Republic of F.
Right.
It's good for PRF workers to be terrified of children, Colonel, especially their own children. You can't have a revolution if you can't first liberate the workers from the oppressive institutions of traditional civil society, after all. In the United States today, the nuclear family presupposes that women be oppressed and restrained by the double-edged sword of both household obligation and a wage job. But the history of the family has always been one of change, and here in the PRF we've certainly changed it, or abolished it, I should say, through brutal violence that, I must say, I'm hoping to see from this Jacob Kogan character.
At the start of the film, a daughter is born to Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga. It's their second child. Jacob Kogan, the boy sociopath, does not react well to this competitor to his parents' attention and affection. He tells Sam Rockwell, "You don't have to love me. That's not like a rule or something." Sam Rockwell says, "But I do love you. You're my son. You're my boy. I'll always love you, no matter what." So Jacob Kogan accepts the challenge of Sam Rockwell. Will Sam Rockwell really love Jacob Kogan no matter what?
Well, the PRF workers and soldiers had better love me no matter what.
For their own good, yes, sir.
That's right. And I'm starting to think that they should see Jacob Kogan in this movie as a surrogate for, or a representation of their glorious leader, General Secretary F.
Vera Farmiga suffers from severe postpartum depression in the film, and it's a brutal depiction. Sam Rockwell often records scenes of family life with his camcorder, and he's got a collection of old videotapes he took. Jacob Kogan sometimes watches these videos when his parents aren't around, so he learns what a difficult time his mother has had since he was born. As for Sam Rockwell, he's a hedge fund manager who works a very high-pressure job for his boss Michael McKean, who is also Bob Odenkirk's older brother, who's allergic to electricity in Better Call Saul.
You know, PRF scientists have been working on a form of gluten-free electricity that would prevent the sort of allergic reaction that Michael McKean is having.
Sam Rockwell has fairly recently moved the family to Manhattan from somewhere in the American interior, and his parents aren't happy that Sam Rockwell has relocated to the big city. His parents are evangelical Christians and are disappointed that Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga aren't going to baptize their infant daughter, just as they didn't baptize Jacob Kogan. This could be read as a failure on the part of Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga to provide Jacob Kogan with any notion of the meaning of life, or their abandoning him to a meaningless life, abandoning him him to outer darkness, as it were. But as we'll see, it also provides Jacob Kogan with something he can use to manipulate and torment his family.
Here's how the workers and soldiers of the People's Republic of F should interpret these characters, then. Sam Rockwell's parents represent the church-state system of the medieval period, before the modern era. Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga, then, represent the capitalist imperialist order, and Jacob Kogan symbolizes the glorious leader of the revolution.
Yes, sir. Jacob Kogan typifies the genocidal dictator.
That's correct, Colonel. Jacob Kogan instantiates the maniacal absolutist. He emblematizes me, in fact, your glorious leader, General Secretary F, and I may say his glorious leader, General Secretary F.
Jacob Kogan kills the pet hamsters and guinea pigs at his home and school, probably by poisoning them. But no one is aware that it was Jacob Kogan who killed them, at least not for sure. He kills the family dog, too, and when Sam Rockwell breaks down in tears over his dead dog, the boy mimics his display of grief, not feeling any emotion about it himself. It's the behavior of a psychopath.
Oh, be reasonable, Colonel. If you're going to frame it that way, we can't even have a discussion.
Oh, of course you're correct. My apologies, General Secretary.
You see, through the course of socio-political history, we observe the use of violence wherever there are conflicts amongst the people. This violence results in bodily harm or death. This is a fundamental element of social history, and it is received at turns by reactions of outrage or of delight, which provide the trite foundations of the ideologies that occupy the thoughts of the collectives. And even those who would take issue with such realities will concede that human violence is not just a necessary element of social progress, but in fact the primary and most effective tool for reworking and correcting errant historical trends. But let's not resort to rhetoric and metaphysics, Colonel T.
Certainly not.
We must return to the basis of material progress, physical violence. We must concede its fundamental role in society, and that's true even when the violence is accidental. Coercion, menace, and the threat of war produce the most important historical developments, and this is the case before the masses of people who have been cut down, after their blood has been spilled, or in some cases when they yet live but are remanded to a decade of hard physical labor in the Arctic camps.
Having seen on Sam Rockwell's videotapes that Vera Farmiga isn't able to handle the stress of a crying baby, Jacob Kogan starts sneaking into his sister's room at night and making her cry to wake his parents up and aggravate his mother's postpartum depression. Jacob Kogan was also a young Spock in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek reboot in 2009.
Wow. I really like the way that this Jacob Kogan thinks, though. I like the way he thinks murdering animals and waking up children to make them cry. These are tactics not unfamiliar to the soldiers and workers of the People's Republic of F. I think he's got some good ideas. I think he's got a good mind. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And if he sticks with it, he might become a glorious leader himself one day.
Yeah, we need to get him into politics.
Yeah.
Jacob Kogan continues to manipulate his mother, Vera Farmiga. She grows paranoid. She's always angry at Sam Rockwell, even abusive. She sinks deeper and deeper into the downward spiral of depression. Then one day, Jacob Kogan asks Vera Farmiga to play hide and seek with him. While she counts to 50, Jacob Kogan takes his baby sister out of her crib and runs off somewhere with her. When Vera Farmiga discovers this, she finally cracks. She screams at Jacob Kogan. Sam Rockwell has to restrain her from attacking him. Vera Farmiga has a complete mental breakdown, and Sam Rockwell has to have her committed to a mental hospital. That's 1 down, 3 to go for Jacob Kogan, the child sociopath.
You know, it reminds me of when I arranged for Gary Rossington to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rossington was the F Borough Party chief and secretary of the Central Committee. He was enormously popular with the workers and a charismatic and gifted orator. After I had him abducted from his quarters in the housing compounds, Gary Rossington became a hero to PRF workers. He was mourned for weeks by the leadership and the people.
Yes, sir, I remember.
But the purge of Rossington and other party officials was an effort on my part to eliminate political rivals.
Naturally, sir.
It only made sense to dispose of prominent PRF figures, even if they belonged only to potential opposition groups, whether from the left wing led by Billy Powell or the right wing led by Artemis Pyle, for example.
Jacob Kogan's grandmother, Sam Rockwell's mother, Celia Watson, has been there in Manhattan staying with the family. At first it was just to help with their newborn daughter, but as Jacob Kogan rains his schemes of diabolical psychological abuse down upon the family, as Vera Farmiga loses her grip, Celia Watson starts helping out around the home in her place. As we've seen, Celia Watson is an evangelical Christian, so early in the film, Jacob Kogan goes to a prayer meeting with her, and when they get home he tells Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga he's given his heart to Jesus. But this is not genuine on Jacob Kogan's part. It's only to upset his parents and drive a wedge between them. Sam Rockwell seems to be agnostic, and Vera Farmiga is Jewish. So the move on Jacob Kogan's part leads to shouting matches between Vera Farmiga and her mother-in-law. Then, towards the end of the film, Celia Watson takes Jacob Kogan to a museum where there are exhibits of ancient Egyptian mummies and religious art. Jacob Kogan tells Celia Watson all about the ancient Egyptian gods and mythology, largely to taunt and offend her. Then, when Celia Watson goes into the bathroom, Jacob Kogan rolls his baby sister outside in her stroller, right up to the top of a tall flight of stairs. Celia Watson barely manages to find Jacob Kogan and catch back up to him before he pushes his baby sister's stroller down the stairs. Finally, as Celia Watson tearfully apologizes about it all to Sam Rockwell, who's just gotten there to see all this, Jacob Kogan pushes Celia Watson down the stairs and kills her. 2 down, 2 to go for Jacob Kogan.
Colonel, you know how I feel about mummies. I want you to be straight with me here. Are these mummies sentient, and are they mobile?
No.
Okay. These mummies, they're like ghosts. They're like goblins, vampires. I don't get them. I don't understand them. I fear them because I can't control them yet. But PRF scientists are working, I should say PRF metaphysicians are working on ways to bridge those two worlds so that I can gain control over them.
So that there could be like an Arctic labor camp for goblins and vampires?
Or there could be a interdimensional labor camp where goblins could work side by side with counter-revolutionaries.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Sam Rockwell has been mentally unraveling as the result of his son's psychological torture, and he's on to Jacob Kogan now. Sam Rockwell tells Jacob Kogan, "I know what you're doing. I don't know why you're doing it, but I'm on to you. You're not going to hurt anyone else. I think you're sick." Sam Rockwell puts locks onto the doors in their apartment, and he locks up the drawers and cabinets in the kitchen so that Jacob Kogan can't poison anyone. But Sam Rockwell is no match for Jacob Kogan, the child genius sociopath, General Secretary. Sam Rockwell takes Jacob Kogan and his baby daughter out to Central Park, and after more verbal poking and prodding from Jacob Kogan, he finally snaps and hits Jacob Kogan with dozens of other New Yorkers watching. Jacob Kogan smiles. His plan is working. To finish him off, he tells Sam Rockwell, "No one will ever love you." Sam Rockwell loses it and strikes Jacob Kogan repeatedly. The bystanders intervene and restrain him. They call the police. Sam Rockwell is arrested, and that's it for him. His life as he knew it is over. 3 down, 1 to go for Jacob Kogan.
So who's Jacob Kogan's final victim?
It's his uncle, his music teacher, Vera Farmiga's brother, Dallas Roberts. With both Sam Rockwell and Vera Farmiga each now institutionalized in their respective ways, Dallas Roberts has to step in as legal guardian for Jacob Kogan and his baby sister and arrange for caregivers for them. But Jacob Kogan has other plans. He tells Dallas Roberts, "I'm glad you're here. I mean, you, me, this feels right. The way it always should have been." The clueless Dallas Roberts changes the subject and tells Jacob Kogan they should compose something together. Sitting at the piano, Jacob Kogan and Dallas Roberts improvise a song. In the lyrics he comes up with, Jacob Kogan sings to Dallas Roberts, "No one will ever love them now. They always wanted somehow to save me. For pity's sake, they should have saved themselves. Nobody ever knew me like you do. I only really ever wanted to be with you." Dallas Roberts looks at Jacob Kogan, horrified and finally understanding everything that's happened, understanding that he's now prisoner to a homicidal child psychopath, and that all this has been Jacob Kogan's plan from the beginning. The end. Some critics gave Joshua a lower score than it deserves for being too predictable, but the PRF Ministry of Propaganda hereby condemns those critics for this misappraisal.
Indeed, Colonel T. The critics in question shall be reassigned to the Arctic labor camps for compulsory re-education for a period of not less than 10 years.
That's well deserved, sir. They say there are really only 7 different plots in stories anyway. Similarly, blues and rock bands play largely the same changes over and over again in their songs. And the interest in Joshua isn't just in the beats of the plot, but in the stylish, disturbing way those beats are executed. Jacob Kogan gives a creepy performance, and the other actors are excellent as well. It's all executed very stylishly. With almost no blood or gore, and nothing supernatural or paranormal, the film is exceptionally frightening.
That's true, Colonel. I agree. Joshua is a frightening film. You know what else is frightening?
What's that?
The capitalist newspapers, led by Rech, are falling over backwards in their attempt to scare people with the specter of anarchy. Not a day passes without Rech screaming about anarchy, whipping up rumors and reports of casual and minor breaches of the law and frightening the people with the specter of a frightened bourgeoisie. In the wake of Rech and of the other capitalist papers comes the press of Narodniks, including the Socialist Revolutionaries and the Mensheviks. they too have allowed themselves to be frightened. The editorial in today's edition of the Petrograd Soviet, whose leaders are all members of these parties, shows this paper to have definitely taken sides with the peddlers of bourgeois terrors. It has talked itself into a statement which, to put it mildly, is grossly exaggerating. Quote, "There is demoralization in the army. In some places there is disorderly seizure of the land and destruction and looting of livestock and farm implements. Arbitrary action is on the increase." By arbitrary action, the Narodniks and the Mensheviks, that is, the parties of the petty bourgeoisie, mean, among other things, the seizure by peasants in the local areas of all the land without waiting for the Constituent Assembly. It was a bogey, this arbitrary action, that Minister Shingarioff once trotted out in his famous telegram, which was widely featured in the press. Arbitrary action, anarchy. What terrifying words. But let any Narodnik or Menshevik who wishes to think for himself consider for a minute the following question. Before the revolution, the land belonged to the landowners. That was not called anarchy. And what did that lead to? It led to a breakdown all along the line to, quote-unquote, anarchy in the fullest sense of the word, i.e., to the utter ruin of the country, the ruin of the majority of the population. Is a way out of this conceivable other than by the widest application of energy, initiative, and determination on the part of the majority of the population? Obviously, it's not. So what does all this add up to? 1. The Tsar's supporters stand for the absolute rule of the landowner and the countryside and for their keeping all the land. They are not afraid of the anarchy, which this actually entailed. 2. The cadet Shingarioff, representing all the capitalists and the landowners, with the exception of a small group of Tsarists, advocates agricultural conciliation chambers under the rural supply committees for the purpose of effecting voluntary agreements between the tillers of the land and the landowners. This petty bourgeois politician, the Narodniks and Mensheviks, are all following Shingarioff's footsteps when they advise the peasants to wait until the Constituent Assembly meets and when they call the immediate confiscation of the land by the peasants in the local areas anarchy. Now, 3. The party of the proletariat, the Bolsheviks, stands for the immediate seizure of the land by the peasants in the local areas and recommends the greatest possible degree of organization. We see no anarchy in this, for it is this decision, and this decision alone, that happens to be a majority decision of the local population. Since when has a majority decision come to be called anarchy? Would it not be more correct to apply this appellation to the minority decision, which both the Tsarists and Shingarioff are proposing in various forms? How low the Narodniks and Mensheviks must have fallen to help Shingarioff and company spread bourgeois terror, fear of the people. That is what these alarmists and panic mongers are actuated by. There's no reason to fear the people. The decision of the majority of the workers and peasants is not anarchy. Such a decision is the only possible guarantee of democracy in general and of success in the search for effective ways of combating this debacle in particular.
Excellent, sir. We dutifully cite the Marxists' Internet Archive as our source. Workers and Soldiers of the People's Republic of F, Joshua, is number 10 on our list of the 10 best movies of the 2000s. This has been the art of cinema with our glorious leader, General Secretary F. Let us maintain vigilance against the ever-looming threat of an American invasion. You are required to report any non-participation or dissent amongst your comrades. Don't forget to tune into the Art of Cinema again next time to discover which film ranks at number 9 on our list in your next mandatory re-education session.